Hello, internet friends. Welcome back once again. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. This video is going to be the meet recap from the two events that I attended at the Arnold Classic last week in Columbus, Ohio. Apparently, the Supreme Overlord, Chester the Cheddar Biscuit, has decided that now is lapse times, and so we're just going to roll with it. You can't say no to that. You can't say no to that fuzzy guy. So yes, I did compete twice while I was down there. Overall, the weekend was really awesome. I wanted to get this video out a lot sooner. I did have some struggles getting back home afterwards, but that's a story for another time. I competed in a full power raw meet, the Raw Challenge, sponsored by A7 on Friday, and then had Saturday to rest and recover, though I pretty much spent the whole day still at the venue watching the Pro American, where my friend Garrett Blevins broke the all-time 105 IPF record with an awesome performance. Good job, Garrett. And Ray Williams squatted 1,052 pounds. That was pretty crazy to be there for as well. But then I also competed in the Slingshot Pro Deadlift IPF event on Sunday. So it was it was just a packed weekend. It was pretty crazy, but in the best way possible. Overall, my review for it was a great time. It was awesome to be around so many like-minded individuals, even though there were a lot of people who have different specific fitness pursuits. Being in that environment is very motivating because everybody is interested in working and improving themselves, and that's kind of the whole idea that I got into this in the first place for, and why I'm still doing it 17 years later. So, in terms of the actual competitions, I think it was kind of a mixed bag. There were some awesome moments, there were some less than awesome moments, but the really positive takeaway is that I learned a lot about myself. I have a lot of positive notes to work on and improve, and a competition is always a success when you walk away having learned something and taking more away from the competition than you had when you went into it. So, yeah, let's just get it. I don't want to ramble too much on this, and now I'm distracted by a fuzzy little fur beast right here. But we're gonna try our best to stay on track and not keep you guys here too long. So the A7 Raw Challenge on Friday, we had a lot of expectations for me. My coaches Eric and Hanny and myself had a pretty. They had more of a solid plan than I did particularly, but I was definitely feeling good going into it. Training has been phenomenal the last few months leading into it, and I was hitting some really big numbers in the gym, feeling very good for the event, and I think that we came in about as prepared as we could have been on that day to perform, and so the lead into the meet was really solid. I have moved up to the 105 class, even though I haven't quite filled it out yet. I weighed 118. I weighed 218 or 99.2 kilos, so I'm still about 13 pounds under the weight class limit. So I've got plenty of room still to go, but we didn't want to come in and have me be just uncomfortably flubbery. I think 220 is about the weight range that I like to be at anyway, and so it already gets a little bit uncomfortable for me, but you know, we have plenty of time to keep working myself into the class. I'm a pretty patient person. I've been doing this a long time. I know that it's a grind. That's what we do. So squats going in were we had some highs and lows with the squats, to say the least. Opener, we took 617 as my opener, and the rack height that was written down for me was incorrect. It was my bench rack height. I was told that I wrote it down wrong on the sheet, so I guess that's my fault, and I told them I needed it to go from 11 to 16, but because of that they didn't restart my clock for me, so I had a very short time to be able to get the start command before I could do the lift without timing out. I think I made it with 1 second left, so it was pretty exhilarating. I was definitely counting in my head as I was rushing through my setup and walking back to my spot. But we made it just barely in the nick of time. First squat was very easy. I think that I doubled 615 in training at probably like a RP 6 or 7. That was definitely a confident opener for me. We jumped to 650, which is technically a PR for me. Um, and I misgrouped it. I actually moved forward a little bit, but you probably couldn't tell by watching the video. It definitely moved very comfortably. But it did tire me out a little bit more than I would have liked, just because the bar rolled up my shoulders just slightly. I got pitched a little bit forward on the platform. So I think I spent a little bit more energy on that than I needed to. Uh, but still, it moved very well. And so Eric and Hanny decided to call for 672. I think this was a weight. I think it was the right call, to be honest. I did miss the attempt, but it was the same issue that happened on the second attempt, but I got punished for it. I pitched forward a little bit. I misgrooved. It was definitely an execution error and not an error on their part for calling that weight. I think the weight absolutely was there. I still almost got it, even though I misgrooved so hard. And so the spotters had to take that for me, and I really appreciated them. That's the first squat I've missed in probably about 2 years. So it could have been a really bad start to the meet. Fortunately, the 650 was enough to put me in a good position in terms of where I was within the flight and where I was within kind of the pack, chasing those numbers in the placement. And it didn't really destroy my total as much as it could have. I still think that the result of that ended up having us be a little bit more conservative on the bench press and the deadlift respectively. But overall, I can't really complain. It was a small PR on the squat, with definitely the confidence that that 672 is going to be there next time if I just squat it correctly instead of messing up the way that I did. So moving on to the bench press, these have been going really well in training, and I had a much better idea of where my bench was than just about anything else. So we didn't have to make a whole lot of adjustments on that plan. We adjusted a little bit and brought it down because missing that squat kind of did flare up a little bit of tendonitis in my left elbow, and also the start command was across the board throughout the entire flight was a little bit longer than most of us were used to as competitors. I think a lot of people were getting were feeling the effects of having to hold the bar a little bit longer at the top before receiving the start command. It was fair across the entire flight, so I don't have any complaints about it, but it definitely was an adjustment we all had to make on the fly, which affected some of us more than others, and it definitely caused my coaches and I to be a little bit more hesitant with taking bigger jumps. I think a lot of, at least a fair number of lifters missed their third attempt on bench, and I would think that just being not used to that might have been a contributing factor to that, although that's just my opinion. So we went 358 for my opener, very solid opener. I've been like tripling that in training with no issues. Jumped up to 374. Again, it moved pretty well, though it did slow a little bit on my bad shoulder side, and so we decided after the squats to take it a little bit more conservatively. I think that we were pretty much expecting me to hit 385 or 390 as kind of a third attempt, but we decided to play it very conservative, took 380, and probably had my best rep of the day. So I guess that's better. It's better to have your third attempt look like you were sandbagging than to go and miss it. Padded the total just a little bit on that, and it is a small USAPL PR for me, even though it's not the most I've ever benched in competition. It's the most I've ever benched in competition in this federation. So moving on to the deadlift, things were feeling all right. Opened with 705, very easy lift, very comfortable. Moved on to 738, which is the number that I have been struggling mentally with for about a year now. Every time that we've called for that number in competition this year, for some reason I've just missed it. I don't think it's really been much of a strength issue. It's been more of an execution error every single time. And I think that the big difference here was that I've recently switched to hook grip for all of my heavy pulls, because the problem that I was running into is that my underhand would always misgroove the same way. I would always pull forward and the bar would start to windmill out away from me and rotate on that left side. And so switching and getting rid of having an underhand and switching completely to an overhand just cleaned up my pull. It made it so that I don't have the bar rotating away from me on those top numbers, and it's very clear to me in my training that that has been a huge factor. My consistency in the pull is much better, and I misgroove much less often. I'm actually able to use the strength that we've been building on, and I'm convinced that that's been the real fix to my deadlift from this training block. So that was definitely something that was kind of confirmed here when I hit that number pretty comfortably. A little slower than we would have liked. Just I think I mentally was overthinking it a little bit. I hyperventilated slightly on the platform, which got me a little dizzy, and just my positioning wasn't the best that it's ever been, but it still moved very, very quickly, and I think the bar speed was much better than it felt in the moment. And so Eric and Hanny kind of called for 750. I think we were ready for me to pull anywhere from 760 to 765 if we felt that we needed it. But just because of again having missed that third squat, I think pushed us to play it a little bit more conservative, and also wanted to save a little bit of something for the deadlift only meet on Sunday and not completely tank everything with a super grindy third pull. So 750 actually moved much better than 738 did. I was very happy with how that rep moved. I think the total ended up being was 650, 380, and 750 put me at 1780. I think that the plan for the meet was probably to total somewhere closer to 1820 or 1830, just based off of where we thought that I could go on a perfect day. But I didn't have a perfect day, and it kind of the squat sort of led to being a little bit more conservative on those last two lifts. But I'm still very happy that we were able to overcome kind of the adversity of me sort of botching that, because in the past that would have really gotten in my head that it wasn't just that the weight was too heavy, that I made a mistake, and it caused me to not get the lift. That's that's harder for me to shake than just, oh, it wasn't there today, because I felt like it was there today. I just didn't do my job correctly. So finished up with that. Spent the whole next day watching the Pro American, where my friend Garrett Blevins broke the 105 all-time total squat, bench, and total world record, which was really fun to watch. And Ray Williams squatted 1052, and a whole bunch of other really strong lifters came and had great meets, and it was fun to be around that. I may have spent a little bit too much time at the venue and should have gotten home and rested a little bit, but I think it worked out all right in terms of my fatigue management. And then came back for Sunday's deadlift only event. Decided to do that in single ply. That's why we've been training in single ply pretty frequently throughout this training block. My raw deadlifting actually was not very heavy throughout the entire block. I actually warmed up until like the last 2 weeks before the event. I don't think that I'd pulled more than like 620 for any scheduled work sets. I'd over warmed up. I'd warmed up to 650 and 675 on my own, not as part of the programming, just on my way to doing some heavier suited work, just to get a little, to feel that weight a little bit. But overall, most of the heavy work we did was in the suit this training block, and so we decided to just give it a go. Not so much that I get a whole lot out of my suit, because I'm not very skilled with it, but more so that we figured it would help to cover up some of the fatigue in the hips and the back that doing the full meet on Friday would have done, and I think it worked out pretty well. So got there. It was a little bit of a mess in terms of the details of knowing where to go and what to do, and there were 3 meets going on simultaneously, so there weren't a whole lot of people who knew all the details, but we made it work. Eventually got to the warm-up area, eventually got to the stage, and went out to perform. I was a little nervous opening. We opened with 733, and I wasn't completely sure how I was going to feel going into that. My last couple of warm-ups felt a little rushed, felt a little bit off, but 733 moved really well. I made the world's worst, ugliest deadlift face at the top just to celebrate it. That's a terrible joke. It was just hideous, but it moved really well. And we were feeling really good going into the second attempt. Eric called for 766, which should be well within my range. in the suit with no issues at all. But then just something that was a little bit out of it was partly in my control and partly not completely in my control. I think we managed the fatigue well in terms of strength and not feeling too beat up from Friday to Sunday. But the one thing we weren't able to have as much of a rein in on was the health of my hands in terms of the skin and the sharp knurling on the bar. And you see right here, there is still a bit of the remnants of the tear that happened at the top of 766, which was really unfortunate. I got it all the way to lockout. The announcer says easy as the bar slowly tore my hand open and fell. I think that it wasn't completely locked out, so I don't think that they should have given me the down command. But if that tear hadn't happened, then I feel like my hips would have come through a little bit cleaner, and I probably would have got the down command. It would have gone, it's woulda, shoulda, coulda. What happened happened. The strength was definitely there. So much, in fact, that I came off, and Eric and Hanny came up to me and said, we can. It tore. If it's going to tear again on 766, it's going to tear no matter what we put on it. So let's go ahead and just go for it. Our goal for the deadlift meet was different than our goal for the full power meet. The goal for the full power meet was to try and put together a solid total and have a good showing. The goal for the deadlift only meet was to get in the placements, was to aim for some money and try to just, if I wasn't in the placements, I didn't care about going 2 for 3 or 3 for 3 if it wasn't going to result in the placement we were looking for. So we decided to jump to 788. Again, it's a weight that I definitely feel strength-wise was very well within my capacity, and even on the day, I almost got it. And I want to upload a video of those 3 attempts so that you guys know that I'm not just making that up. I was able to get the attempts from Friday's meet from the live stream, but I still haven't been able to find any kind of live stream or video attempts from Sunday. The ones that I have, the video resolution is actually too good for my editing software, I guess. It won't accept it every time I try to drag it to the editing frame to actually put it into the video. It's just like, nope, you can't do that. So I have that footage. As soon as I figure out how to decrypt it or whatever, hi buddy, then I will hopefully have that done. He wants to play. This is not a good time, bud. Okay. So yeah, we went for 788 then for the third attempt, and the same thing happened. I got it up. It was moving really well, but it just kept tearing the skin, and I wasn't able to finish out the lift. It was really unfortunate, again, because I think the strength was there all day, and that was actually a big impetus for the reason that when I got home, I really wanted to try. I loaded up the deadlift bar and got that 800-pound pull. My intention initially was to warm up raw and then put on the suit and pull 800 just to knock it out of the to-do list, but I ended up feeling so good on my warm-ups for that little session that I did when I got home that I decided to try it raw first, and it ended up going. It wasn't easy by any means. Probably the most difficult deadlift I've ever done in my life in terms of grindiness and how tough the lockout was, but it did prove to me that I can hold on to it even with the hook grip. So again, learned a lot from that, and that I need to continue to refine my hand care tactics. Are you going to settle down now a little bit? Yeah? Okay. But overall, I don't think we could have done a whole lot about that to change the outcome. It just went the way it did, and maybe next time my hands will be a little bit tougher and won't tear on that, and I can manage some of those factors a little bit more carefully, I suppose. So that's how the meets went. I ended up placing second behind Jamal Browner in the Raw Challenge. It was really fun. I think the spectators had a really fun time. He and I were pretty close all the way up through it. He missed a bench. I missed that squat. I think the only thing I would have liked better if I would have hit my squat and I would have been able to get my other 2 lifts, just kind of the plan that I think the coaches and I initially would have liked to have. It would have pushed Jamal to have to take an 800-pound deadlift, and I think on the day he would have done it. So it would have been nice to go 9 for 9 with a bigger total and to help push him to hit his first 800-pound deadlift in a competition. He's gonna do it at nationals. I'm calling it right now. He's insane. He pulled 777 like it wasn't even on the bar for his third attempt, and he's been getting really good really fast. Everyone else too, just on the day for Friday and for Sunday, were some just great competitors, and it was awesome to get to share the platform with them. It was a real honor, and I was just really excited to be there and get the experience and learn. And I'm gonna come back even stronger for next time. I have no doubt about that. We're gonna get that 672, and it's gonna look so much easier than I made it look when I missed it. I do have quite a few thank yous that I want to send out, and there are many more that deserve thank yous that I can't even put on the list because it's already so long. So first of all, to anybody who's been supporting me through this, so far it's just been such a long journey, and I'm amazed at anybody who's stuck around this long, and I appreciate you all so very, very much. I say that probably enough that it gets annoying, but I don't care. I'll keep saying it. Anybody who I talked to at the event who knew me from YouTube or Instagram or had followed me online or had been any part of this journey it was a joy to. It's one of my favorite things is to interact with somebody who my journey through this has impacted in some way, even if it's just a video that gave you a tip or helped you figure something out about your own lifting, or if it's one of the ideas that I've touched on that it helped you through some struggles in your own life. It just means a lot to me that there are people who are tangible that I can interact with that have benefited in some way from the things that I do and what I try to share with you guys. And I really want to continue to do that. I want to get better at it. I want to I don't want to be content with where I'm at. I want to continue to push and improve and make up for some of the slack that I've allowed in the last couple of years in terms of my production output. So we'll see what this next month looks like. You guys, hopefully, if you've been enjoying the recent content and have wanted more, then maybe you'll be a little happier by the end of this month. I do want to say thank you to the Airbnb crew that I stayed with while I was down there. It was an awesome environment with some really, really fun personalities and really incredible lifters and incredible people. And there were 11 of us staying in one house, and so I'm going to try to remember everybody and not forget anybody, because that would feel absolutely horrible. And if I do, it's absolutely because of a brain fart, not because not because it wasn't an impactful experience. But Bonica, J. Mike, David, Dan, Greg, Darrington, Aram, Marty, Ryan, and Josiah. I think that's everybody. All 10, and then I was 11. See, now I'm all nervous that I forgot somebody. I really hope I didn't. And if I did forget somebody, you're still loved. It was everybody at the house. That was just an awesome time. I'm actually going to go through and link all of their Instagrams down in the description if you guys go and check them out if you're interested in seeing some cool people who I got to spend some time with while I was down there, who made my trip infinitely more fun. Just we laughed, we talked, we learned a lot about each other, and it was just a great environment to be in general. To my coaches, Eric and Hanny, thank you so much for everything that you do. I know that I am a lot to handle as a lifter, and I definitely have I'm very internal and reflective with my own lifting, and so I need coaches who are patient enough to deal with me having a lot of input on what I'm doing, and can be flexible enough to work with me even when I have ideas that may differ. And I'm a pretty strongly minded person in terms of what I think the right way to go about things are. So they put up with a lot, and they take a lot of pressure off me when it comes to competing, and I trust them absolutely when it comes to making calls for the attempts. I don't think that they made a single bad call from the information that they had and how I was performing. I think the only mistakes were my own, and that's exciting because I can work on fixing those. So it was great having them. My friend Chance Mitchell, who he and I, ever since Nationals, had been kind of back and forth online, really kind of pushing each other and kind of playfully teasing each other through messages, but also trying to help each other get better. And he had an awesome performance. The kid's a 9-for-9 monster when it comes to competition, and he's been competing a lot and putting a lot on his progression over the last year. Last few years has really been incredible, and I think he's a very loyal and passionate friend, and I appreciate his friendship and the discussions and talks we've had. To everybody on the TSA staff, Joe, Bryce, Chris, and then obviously Hanny and Eric, thank you guys so much for everything you guys do for the sport. To the A7 guys, for putting on an awesome event, and for everything you guys do for the sport too. That company is blowing up in terms of how many people are starting to recognize the quality of the products that they make, and it was a great event, and I like what they do and I like what they're about. So thank you guys for that. To Mark Bell from Slingshot for the putting on the pro deadlift. That was a great event as well, and I wish I would have had a better showing at it, but again, you learn what you can, you move on from the things that don't go the way you want them to, and you grow from all your experiences, whether they end up the way that you want them to or not. I talked to a lot of other people while I was down there. Thank you all for your time and attention, and giving me the time of day to have those discussions. I'm really excited and looking forward to the next endeavor. So far, the only thing on my schedule right now is going to be Raw Nationals in October. I've got quite a lot of life. Okay, so the camera died because I was talking too much, so I'm just going to end this pretty quickly. Just overall, thank you all to everybody who has been there from the start or from any stage of this journey. There's so much more to do. Next up on the list is definitely going to be looking at Raw Nationals. A lot of stuff is going to be happening in the next couple of months. I already said that. I can't record this again. It's already too long, and it's way too late at night. But just, yes, thank you all. So much more happening in the coming weeks, and I'm going to be pushing myself to be a better content creator, and be able to share more with you guys, because I really do love this so much that I just want to have more output in terms of my interaction with the community, and I feel like I've rested a little bit too much on my laurels in terms of being content with where that's been at, and I just want to do more. I'm excited, and I'm refreshed, and I'm invigorated with the idea and the potential of having more opportunities to potentially impact or help more people, because every single person that I talked to while I was at this event who had been impacted by the struggles that I've gone through and shared, or the journey, it made me feel like there's so much more that I could be doing, and I want to try and take that approach. So thank you all so much for everything, and I will talk to you very soon. Some of the videos I'm going to be coming out with that I know that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do a video on my switch from an over-under grip in the deadlift to a hook grip, kind of the way that I go about the hook grip, the way I went about that change, and some hand care that I think is very important, the way that I take my hands in training versus competition, and some of the things that I learned from having that issue with the big tear in that competition. So that's something, and then I've got a lot of other stuff planned that I am going to be putting out this next month as things go. So from myself and Chester, the Supreme Overlord, I hope you guys, wherever you're at, are having a great day, night, evening, whatever. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Bye. Weirdo. You say hi to people? You say hi to people?